Hey everyone, Yan Zhao back again. Today talking about Mandalorian episode 4. In episode 3, we left off our hero Mando as the Yojimbo, the lone samurai, the master, wandering the wastelands. And in this episode, we get Xena Warrior Princess. What the heck happened? Let's talk about it. Now, a lot of people are probably going to come here and say, "Yeah, Joe, how could you make fun of women in this?" No, I'm not making fun of women. When I say it turned into Xena Warrior Princess, I mean the tone. The tone of the show shifted. Before episodes 1, 2, 3, we had a manly man, a stoic man. The action was more or less serious. The subject was, for the most part, serious. A little bit silly with that ice monster thing in episode 1. But not bad overall. In this episode, we see a tonal shift, and it's weird. So, at the end of episode 3, Mando is flying out through space with Baby Yoda. In episode 4, he picks this backwater planet where there's no big cities or anything like that. And they land there, and of course he finds a cantina, because what would Star Wars be without weird cantinas? And in this cantina, he finds a former, I'm not quite sure how I should say, Republic or Rebel. It's got to be Rebel. Shock Trooper. And it's played by Gina Carano, who was a former MMA fighter. Now, this is good that they actually got someone who can fight. The big problem is no good fighting. The problem was the fight choreography really stunk. And we'll get back to that in a second. But this takes a weird turn where we had our very cold man living in a cold universe. He's looking for a place to sort of dump Baby Yoda where he'll be safe. He finds this obscure village. He promises to help them in exchange, more or less, for lodging, somewhere they can lay low for a few months. Eventually, he wants to leave Baby Yoda there, but it doesn't work out for various reasons. So this whole village is just weird and silly, and it reminds me, for those of you who are old enough to remember, Xena Warrior Princess. They would go to these random villages, which were all in New Zealand, and they would hang out with the people, and the people were all kind of goofy farmers or whatever, and here they're goofy krill farmers. Like, all right, guys, that's a little weird, but okay. And then, of course, Mando and the Shock Trooper, they have to train them up. Now, this sort of bothers me because Mando is supposed to be a stone-cold bounty hunter, and it kind of makes it seem like he's cracking. He has a choice. Does he stay with this one girl he likes, or does he follow the Mandalorian code? Okay, maybe. I don't think we really have seen him long enough to care that much if he's going to switch over or not. This would have been better later on in the season, maybe near the end, or maybe in season 2. But he does choose the fighting way. And they've got to train the villagers, and they're training them with like sticks and stuff. And there's a scene. He's like, okay, who knows how to shoot? And the only one who raises her hand is this mom lady that he likes. So we know Mando loves MILFs. Okay, so now we'll get back to Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune. I have a lot of problems with her character. Now, I don't generally talk about myself a lot in these videos, but let me explain. So, I used to be big into Kung Fu. I lived in China for a while. I studied there. I taught there. I designed and taught many women self-defense courses. I have trained men and women for competition fighting. And part of the problem with a lot of these shows is that you don't have people who know how to fight. Okay? And in this case, we actually do have a woman who knows how to fight. Xena is quite an accomplished MMA fighter. Now, the problem is there's no way she choreographed this fight. There was a lot that it was supposed to look cool, but it doesn't have an authentic essence to it. So anytime you're writing, anytime you're designing a fight or whatnot, you have to have an element of truth. It has to have some specter of believability in order for people to relate to it. Now, the problem is, when I was teaching these fighting, were there women who could kick the crap out of an average man? Oh, God, yeah. There were a lot of women I would not piss off. I would not fight if your life depended on it, because they would kick my ass. Excuse my French. But in this case, we have a different problem. And that is, let's look at the military special forces. How many women are in special forces? Almost none. Why? Because when you're talking about the extremes, when you're talking about the upper athletic ability, men are stronger, men are faster, tend to be more aggressive. Not always the case, but it just makes it almost impossible for women to win in a fight. In fact, you can go ask Gina Carano or Holly Holmes, will they fight men from MMA? And their answers are always, hell no, we'll get killed, because they understand that's how this works. So you have a believability problem when Cara Dune is fighting Mando. Now, the thing is, we're talking about a universe where people have robotic arms, they have all sorts of bionic enhancements, there are magical wizards who fight, i.e. force users. You know, she could have been force sensitive. There's all these things that they could have made her, but they didn't. And the biggest sin with this is not in the character of Cara Dune herself. The problem is the main character, Mando. He's got to be the baddest ass that there is. He's got to be the biggest mofo who goes around just destroying people, like in the other episodes. He kills like 10 armed gang members. He fights off 4 of those lizard guys. A good example where you can see this in action is the Keanu Reeves passion project, Man of Tai Chi. So Man of Tai Chi has Keanu Reeves as the main bad guy who's setting up this underground fight club, and the star of it is a guy named Tiger Chen. Now, most people have probably not heard of Tiger Chen. Tiger Chen was one of the stunt coordinators or on the stunt team of a guy named Wu Yanping. Now, Wu Yanping was this famous fight choreographer from Hong Kong, and he did the choreography for The Matrix. Tiger worked on it with Keanu. They became BFFs and, I don't know, probably got matching tattoos or something. But Tiger trained Keanu a lot after this. So we see Keanu in movies like John Wick, and we say, wow, that's really great action. The problem is, Tiger trained under the Beijing Sports University's Wushu team. Wushu is the competitive form of Kung Fu. So this guy looks amazing. And when you put Keanu next to him, oh man, it looks bad. Now, Keanu versus other people who are not trained in this specific style, in this specific sharp-looking kind of martial arts, he looks pretty good. But next to someone who looks incredible, ooh, Keanu just looks bad. And that's exactly what this fight did to Mando. You know, she didn't even defeat him, but it was the fight came to a draw, let's say. that's not realistic, and it doesn't come off as realistic unless she had some of these other enhancements. Then it would be okay. But by having him tie with her, he no longer seems that badass. Now, maybe that's the point. But traditionally, in a character like this, in the westerns we had, in the samurai movies, there would only be one person who's potentially badder than our main character. And that's either the villain or the antagonist. Often they're the same person, but not necessarily. So that person could be stronger. That person could whip our hero in a fight, and it's something that the hero has to come up against. He needs to train harder to get better, or maybe he has to use his smarts to outwit the bad guy, whatever it is. But that didn't happen. Now, what's another way that we could potentially believe that a woman could fight him to a standstill? You have to go deep into human nature, into human psychology, and you have to go deep into the ferocity of femininity. And one of the things that, the phrase mama bear is when you have kids threatened. So for me, the character of Cara Dune actually should have been Omera, who I believe was the name of the MILF that Mando really liked. She should have been the former shock trooper. And it should have been the raiders who raided their village captured her kid, or they threatened to kill her kid. And maybe she thinks that Mando's one of them, so she's going to fight him, to possibly a standstill because she's fighting to save her kid. I would buy that. I've seen women go freaking crazy in order to protect their kids. All this adrenaline, like all sorts of stories about lifting cars off their kids and beating the crap out of all these attackers. I could absolutely see that. But instead, they sort of waste it and they want to separate the two. And I think that's too bad. I think it would have made a stronger position if Cara Dune was on this planet. She had a kid. She had to take the kid here to be safe from the New Republic or what's left of the Empire or whatever. And she's built this new life in this fishing village. The kid gets captured, or the bad guys are threatening to kill the kid. Mando somehow comes in the way, and they fight. And she's fighting to protect her kid. And with us knowing that motivation, totally believable she could have fought Mando to a standstill. But instead, they didn't. And that would have even been a stronger pairing for him, because she could have shown him, hey, look, I had your kind of life, and now I have this slice of peace. You and Baby Yoda can live out your days here, and you can be happy. You just have to forego the Mandalorian way. But we don't have that. It would have been much more convincing. But hey. So then we get to the main fight with the bad guys, and they're fighting a walker and all this stuff. And it seemed just very silly. It seemed, the fight seemed very contrived. Like they had to get the walker to walk into a pit so it would fall over. It seems to me that if I were a driver of one of those things, I would just have stayed back and shot the crap out of everything. Excuse me. I would not have gone forward. So it was just very slapdash, almost silly Billy type stuff that I would expect more from Xena or the Adventures of Hercules. When was Kevin Sorbo going to show up? Who can say? Hopefully this is not a sign of things to come. Hopefully this was just sort of a one-off, and we will get more episodes like episode 3 as opposed to episode 4. So what do you guys think? Am I off base? Should they have had some better reasoning for Cara Dune to be able to beat Mando? Am I wrong about how her fighting him to a stalemate brings him down a notch, which really doesn't help the show? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and hey, subscribe to my channel We'll be talking about a lot more videos, comics, and D&D in the future. Again, this is Yan Yan Zhao signing out. I'll see you guys soon.